You know how some things just fall apart under pressure, while other things seem to thrive on it? Well, today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea called antifragility. And we're going to explore how this one concept could completely change our legal systems to actually handle the chaos of the world we live in today.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on what antifragility even is. Then, we'll look at why our current legal systems often break. After that, we'll get into the exciting stuff, how to design better ones, the technology that can help us do it, and what all of this really means for the future of justice.
All right, first things first, what in the world is antifragility? Let's really break this down.
We usually think in opposites, right? You have things that are fragile, like a glass vase that shatters, and then you have things that are robust, like a steel wall that just resists pressure and stays the same. But what if there's a third option? That's antifragile. It's like a tree in a storm. The wind doesn't just fail to break it, it actually forces the tree to grow stronger roots. It doesn't just resist stress, it feeds on it.
So, to put a more formal definition on it, an anti-fragile system is something that uses shocks, mistakes, and even total failures as fuel. It takes in all that chaos and uses it as information to learn, adapt, and get stronger. It literally gets better from being challenged.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. You see it everywhere once you start looking. I mean, think about your own immune system. Getting exposed to germs makes it more powerful, not less. Or think about social movements. They often get bigger and more unified precisely because they face opposition. Even something like the financial market, with all its craziness, learns and builds new rules after a big crash. All of these are systems that gain from disorder.
Okay, so now that we've got the concept down, let's start applying it. How do our legal systems actually stack up when things get stressful?
And that leads us to the really critical question here. When we look at law through this lens of fragile, robust, or anti-fragile, what do we see? Are our legal systems built to resist shocks, or do they tend to crack under pressure?
Well, the argument here is that a lot of our legal systems are unfortunately fragile. They were designed for a much slower, more predictable era. So when they get hit with the kinds of shocks we see today, like the explosion of AI, a global pandemic, or massive social change, these rigid structures just can't keep up. They're too slow, and they can become totally ineffective right when we need them the most.
So if the old model is fragile, what's the fix? This is where it gets really interesting. How do we actually start designing a legal system that gets stronger from all this chaos? The goal is a total shift in thinking. We're not trying to build a system that can just withstand a punch. We're trying to build one that learns from every single hit and becomes a better, smarter fighter because of it. It's about moving from a static rulebook to a living, learning organism. So how do we get there? Well, the source material points to 6 key ingredients. You need things like openness and transparency, so everyone can see what's happening. You need a culture of experimentation, where it's okay to try new things and learn from them. You make it more resilient by decentralizing power instead of concentrating it, and by including diverse voices. And maybe most importantly, you build in continuous feedback loops and invest in R&D, so the system is always learning and getting better.
Okay, that's the blueprint. But a blueprint is one thing. Actually building it is another. So what are the tools for the job? How could we make this real?
This is where all that emerging tech you hear about really comes into play. Things like AI and blockchain aren't just buzzwords here, they could be the actual tools we use. Blockchain, for example, is basically a super secure, shared digital record book. It could provide the transparent, resilient foundation for a whole new kind of legal system.
Let's get really specific. You've got a problem like corruption or fraud, right? Well, blockchain offers immutable ledgers, which means once a record is in, nobody can change it. It's a tamper-proof history. What about clunky, inefficient contracts? It offers smart contracts that just automatically run themselves when the conditions are met. No middleman needed. Or electoral doubts. You could have a voting system that is transparent and verifiable by anyone.
And the list just keeps going. You could use this tech to streamline how evidence is managed in a court case, or to make the entire process of how laws are made way more transparent to all of us. The big picture is about improving how justice is delivered and making it cheaper and more efficient for everybody.
So, we have the core idea, and we have the tools. Let's zoom out for a second as we wrap up here, and think about the really big picture. What does all this mean for the future of justice itself?
Now, we have to be really clear about this. This is not some kind of magic fix. Building an anti-fragile legal system is an amazing vision, but it is packed with challenges. We have to be just as focused on the potential risks as we are excited about the opportunities.
I mean, here's the basic trade-off. The strengths are huge. You get a system that's more adaptable, resilient, and transparent, which can build a lot more trust. But on the flip side, these systems are incredibly complex, and there's always a chance for errors. And there are some really serious threats too, like creating new ways for power to be centralized, or creating massive new risks to our privacy. Progress here has to be slow and careful.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. Our world is not getting any simpler. Change and uncertainty, that's just the new normal. So the real question isn't if our legal systems need to change, it's how fast can they learn to evolve. Are they ready to become anti-fragile?